Good afternoon, Miss Vivi. We are from Group 5 and we are going to explain about cultural tourism.
Hello, good afternoon, Miss Vivi. My name is Johanna Deborah Putri, and now I'm going to talk about cultural tourism. So, basically, the definition of cultural tourism is that activities that are related to culture as the object of the tourism. Visitors or tourists will learn about some cultures from a destination or a region. The example of cultural tourism is Bali cultural tourism. Bali has a dance that is called Tari Kecak and also a ceremony that is called Ngaben ceremony. Basically, Ngaben ceremony is a ritual that is carried out to return the ancestral spirits to their original place.
Hello, good afternoon, Miss. My name is Ferencia Calvina. In this video, I would like to continue about fun fact of cultural tourism. Cultural tourism is the practice of tourists visiting certain location in order of experience and learn about specific culture. This might involve a variety of activities like attending events and festivals, visiting museums, and trying local foods and beverage. Cultural tourism may also be an inadvertent component of tourism experience, in which cultural immersion with the local people, their language, customs, food, and so on. It's an unavoidable feature of a person's vacation.
And now we're moving to the elements that can attract tourist arrivals. The first is language. So most visitors are curious about the languages that are spoken in a region or a destination. For example, in the United States of America, the first language is English, but most of people speak Spanish as their second language. And then the second is tradition. Tradition of the region, and it could be a unique one. For example, in California, people eat avocado with everything such as egg, bread, peanut butter, and burger. And in United States, people also celebrate Thanksgiving. The next is handicraft. It's like a thing that people can buy as a souvenir from a destination or a region. And then next is food and eating habits. It's like the original food of the destination and how people eat the food. And then art and music, also history of the region is like historical things and stories such as Independence Day. And then the next is work and technology. It's like how people work in a destination or a region, like um, the jobs that are available and also how advanced is the technology. And the next is religion. It's a belief that locals hold. For example, in Indonesia, there are 5 beliefs of or religion. Those are Christian, Catholic, Islam, Hindu, and Buddhist, also Konghucu. Next element is architectural and characteristic in the area. And the next is dress and clothes. It's like traditional clothes of the region that people wear. For example, kebaya from Jakarta that is worn by Betawi people. Also, the next is educational system and also leisure activities. And now I am going to talk about the pros of cultural tourism. So the first is cultural tourism helps local getting jobs. Tourists love to learn new culture, and that increase the amount of visitors and income to the region and creates job vacancy. Also, cultural tourism increases ideas of some work such as the development of ecotourism in cultural tourism. And the second is that cultural tourism helps visitors knowing about the history of the region, and that makes the region is well known. And the last one is that cultural tourism helps the region getting built better because the amount of visitors. The government will build the better infrastructure for the region.
Next, I would like to continue about its benefits of cultural tourism. First, in cultural sector. It promotes international connection, which can bring more business and cultural collaborations in the long term. It also promotes cross-cultural awareness for both locals and tourists and builds bridges of understanding between cultures. A tourist from abroad can learn local culture and also can share their own culture to the local communities to help them grow or achieve more knowledge about the world. Some destinations will encourage local culture and art to be revitalized. This may be in the form of museum exhibitions, in the way that restaurants and shops are decorated, and in the entertainment on over, for examples. This may help promote tradition that may have become distant. The second, in education sector, provide research, education, and work placement opportunities for students. Students from across the globe may come and doing a study tour in a country that has cultural tourism destination. Also, it can provide a place for doing research about culture for scientists who are interested in culture. The last, in environmental sector. It helps encourage the local communities of culture preservation around the destination. It also boosts awareness of the tourist site, attraction, or areas significant that should be kept by all stakeholders in the tourist destination. It helps encourage local residents and visitors to be mindful about their impact on the natural and built environment. So the tourists or the local communities can be more appreciate the environment and the culture. Well, that's all from me. The next explanation will be continued by my friend.
First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Jovan Chandra, and today I will tell you about the disadvantage of cultural tourism. First, the cultural tourism can make a physical damage to build culture and heritage. There are some biggest tourist attraction in the world, like ancient historical sites that built centuries ago by different civilizations, and that means those things are old and fragile, and most of them damaged on the part of the tourists intentionally or unintentionally. Like example, people walk over stones, touch rock walls, lean on sides, graffitiing, and climbing on off-limits structures. That things can cause irreversible erosion and damage to the sites, and the worst, the sites can be broke and cannot be renovated or fix it because of the different materials. Second one is increase waste and pollution. The cultural tourism can increase waste and pollution because of the industrial activity that support the destination and mismanagement of solid waste that can be damage the destination. The visitors or tourists didn't throw trash in its place, and the management of the destinations cannot process it properly, so it can be damage to destinations. The activity can cause pollution, like air pollution that cause of industrial activity, noise pollution that disturb locals and inhabitants that live around the destination, water pollution because of the improperly process of waste. And the third one is clash of cultures for both the visitors and locals. Culture shock can happen when the visitor and locals meet because the locals have difficulty understanding the habits of the visitors, and most of them not easy to accepting new things in their life, and they cannot accept other cultures that different from them. Because of that different cultures and habits, there will be a clash between them. So the visitors must maintain their attitude with behavior when they traveling and meet new people, especially the locals, because there are a lot of different things that locals didn't know before, and they can assume it's not a good habit or else.
Now I'm gonna explain about counter of cultural tourism. 1. Cultural tourism, that the arrival of tourists to tourist destination can damage the authenticity or biological integrity of a culture product. Various studies show that tourism has damaged or destroyed local culture. Tourism directly forces local culture expressions to be modified to suit tourism needs. Cultural expressions are commodified so that they can be sold to tourists. Number two is cultural tourism about the influence of foreign languages. On the development of local languages, the excessive use of foreign languages will cause bad things to the country itself. For example, local languages are mixed with foreign languages, which can speak in both languages so that it can be confused local residents who do not understand foreign languages. Number is regional specialties are included in the cultural elements in this culture-based tourism. These unique food and eating habits make tourists interested in visiting various tourist destinations. Food differences in each country are influenced by a number of factors. For example, in terms of the culture and environment of an area that affects food ingredients, cooking methods, and available seasonings. Culture doesn't just affect food taste, however, it also affects the ingredients of food used. For example, in Europe or America, vanilla is condiment for sweets, while in Asia, vanilla is used to add more savory taste to food.
So, the final conclusion of this topic is cultural tourism is activities that related to culture as the object of tourism. Tourists will learn about some culture from a destination. Cultural tourism has some elements of culture that can attract tourist arrivals. For example, language, tradition, handicraft, food and eating habits, art and music, history of the religion, work and technology, religion, architectural characteristic, dress and clothes, educational system, and leisure activities. For the fun fact, cultural tourism is the practice of tourists visiting certain locations in order to experience and learn about a specific culture, and it might involve a variety activities like as attending events and festival, visiting museum, and trying local foods and beverage. Cultural tourism can add new experience too for the tourists. For example, tourists can stay with a local, having a tour around a village, learning about local employment, undertaking volunteer work in the local community, socializing with members of the local community, going to a cultural show, and visiting historical monuments. Each coin have two sides of it, so it means cultural tourism have an advantage and disadvantage. For the advantage are cultural tourism help local getting jobs. Locals show tourists about the culture and the job needs the help of the locals. Cultural tourism helps visitor knowing about the history about the destination. Cultural tourism helps the region getting built because the amount of visitors will make the government upgrade or make the better infrastructure for the tourists and for the region too. Cultural tourism can promote international connection, which can bring more business and cultural collaborations in the long term. It means tourists can learn about the culture and also can help them grow or achieve more knowledge about the world. Cultural tourism can be helped in education sector too. Tourists can provide research, education, and work placement opportunities for students. Students might come and doing a study tour in a country that has cultural tourism destination. And last, cultural tourism helps encourage the local communities of cultural preservation around the destination. So the local residents can be more aware of the tourist site, attraction, or area significant that should be kept by all stakeholders in the tourism destination. And for the disadvantage are cultural tourism can make a physical damage to build culture and heritage. Historical sites built centuries ago, and that means those things are old and fragile, and most of them damaged on the part of the tourist intentionally or unintentionally. Like example, people walk over stones, touch rock walls, lean on sites, graffitiing, and climbing on off-limit structures. Cultural tourism can increase waste and pollution because of the industrial activity that support the destinations and mismanagement of solid waste that can damage the destination. The visitors or tourists didn't throw trash in its place, and the management of the destinations cannot process it properly. So it can be damaged to destinations. And all of the activity can increase all the pollution, like air pollution, water pollution, and noise pollution. Cultural tourism can make a clash between locals and tourists because of the culture shock. Culture shock can happen because of the different habits and behavior, and most of the locals are close-minded and cannot accept new things. Cultural tourism can damage the authenticity of the destinations. So the tourists directly force local to be modified to suit tourism needs and its need to solve to tourists. Cultural tourism can make local communities speak foreign language or mix local language and foreign language. So it can confuse local residents who do not understand foreign language. And for the last is cultural tourism can make the authenticity of ununique foods in that destination lost. For example, the tourists recommend to adding other spice or ingredients to the food.
Thank you for your attention, Miss. May all those we have shared be beneficial for all of us.